Respect is not demanded, it is commanded by who you are, not what you beg for. If people don't respect you, it is not their fault. It is because of what you allow. Today, let's talk about 5 toxic habits you must remove if you truly want respect in life. And let me tell you, the moment you drop these, the world will look at you differently. Respect is not about looking strong. It is about being strong. Drop these habits and watch the world shift. When you over-explain yourself, you give people permission to question your worth. The more you justify, the weaker your stance becomes. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a truly confident person explaining their choices like they were in a courtroom? Do you think the lion in the jungle roars to convince the deer that he is king? No. He just is. The moment you start explaining your every action, you invite doubt into the conversation. Imagine this. You decide to take a break from social media for your mental health. Someone asks, "Why aren't you online anymore?" Instead of saying, "Because I wanted to focus on myself," you start giving a full breakdown. "Oh, I've been really overwhelmed with work, and I read this article that says, too much social media is bad for the brain, and I feel like I waste so much time scrolling, so I just thought maybe I should take a break." Stop. Look at the difference. When you simply say, "I just felt like it." That's it. No room for questioning, no room for debate. When you explain too much, people sense hesitation, and hesitation breeds doubt. Picture another scenario. You decide not to attend a family gathering because you need rest. The moment you say no, someone asks why. And you feel the pressure. So you start giving an essay about how work has been exhausting, how you haven't slept well, how you have too much on your plate. And suddenly they start questioning you. "Oh, come on, it's just one evening. You always do this. You never make time for family." But if you had just said, "I won't be able to make it," and left it at that, they would have had nothing to push against. The more reasons you give, the more ammunition they have to challenge you. Look at the most powerful people in the world, leaders, visionaries, even celebrities. Do you ever see them over-explaining? No. Because they understand the power of a firm statement. The moment you start justifying, you lose authority. Think of it like this. Imagine a luxury brand. Does Rolls-Royce ever explain why their cars are expensive? Do they write long essays convincing people to buy them? No, they simply exist. And people respect the brand because it doesn't beg for approval. Now, apply this to your life. Say you start a new habit. Maybe waking up at 5 a.m. to work on your goals. Your friends ask, "Why are you doing this?" Instead of saying, "Well, I read somewhere that successful people wake up early and I wanted to try it because I feel like I waste time in the morning." And no, just say, "I like it." The less you explain, the more powerful you appear. A person who is sure of themselves does not need to prove it to anyone. You don't see a diamond apologizing for shining too bright. You don't see a mountain explaining why it stands tall. Think about a time in school or work when you made a simple decision. Maybe you didn't want to participate in a group event. The moment you said no, people bombarded you with questions. If you started over-explaining, they pressured you even more. But if you had just said, "I'm not interested," and left it at that, they would have had nothing to latch on to. This is what separates those who are respected from those who are walked over. And the worst part, when you over-explain, people stop taking you seriously. Imagine a boss who keeps explaining every rule he makes, trying to justify why it's necessary. His employees start questioning. If he has to explain so much, maybe even he isn't sure about it. But a strong leader simply says, "This is the new rule." That's it. And people follow. Now look at your own life. Where are you over-explaining? With your family, your friends, at work? Every time you feel the urge to justify, take a step back. Ask yourself, would a powerful person explain this much? If the answer is no, then stop talking. Think about a relationship where one person always feels the need to explain themselves. Maybe a girlfriend constantly justifying why she wants some alone time, or a boyfriend over-explaining why he didn't text back immediately. It weakens them, because the moment you start explaining, you put yourself in a lower position. And here's a truth that will change your life. People respect those who are certain of themselves. If you respect your own decisions, others will too. But if you keep explaining, you tell them, I need your approval to feel okay with my choices. And that, it's a sure way to lose respect. If someone questions your boundaries, don't justify them, reinforce them. If someone asks why you live a certain way, don't give them a book. Give them a sentence. If someone challenges your choices, don't fall into the trap of convincing them. Stand firm. Because the truth is, when you stop over-explaining, you start commanding respect. Not by force, not by argument, but by the quiet, unshakable power of a person who knows exactly who they are. The disease of seeking approval will keep you a prisoner for life. You bend, you shrink, you say yes when you mean no, all because you fear disappointing someone. But let me ask you, what about disappointing yourself? Who will live your life? You or them? The moment you stop pleasing people, you stop being controlled by them. Imagine this. You're at work and your boss suddenly asks you to stay late, even though you have personal commitments. Your mind races. If I say no, he'll think I'm lazy. If I refuse, will I lose my next promotion? So you push your own plans aside, smile and say, of course, I'll stay. Inside you're exhausted, but you'd rather suffer than risk upsetting someone. This is the trap of people pleasing. The world keeps taking from you because you keep saying yes. Think of a friend who always calls you to dump their problems on you. You could be tired, you could be dealing with your own struggles, but you answer every time. Why? Because you don't want them to think you're selfish. But here's the truth. The people who truly respect you will never demand that you sacrifice yourself for their comfort, and the people who expect you to will never truly respect you. The need to be liked is a silent prison. You walk into a room and you immediately adjust your energy based on who is there. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You nod in agreement when you secretly disagree. You smile when you feel like screaming. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. And why? Because you want people to accept you. But let me ask you, what's the point of being accepted by others if you reject yourself in the process? Have you ever seen a lion apologize for roaring too loudly? Have you ever seen an eagle lower its flight so the pigeons don't feel bad? The ones who are truly powerful do not shrink themselves to make others comfortable. They exist in their full strength, and the world either respects them or moves out of their way. You must stop pleasing people, not because you don't care, but because if you keep prioritizing everyone else, you will eventually have nothing left for yourself. Think of your energy like a glass of water. Every time you say yes to something you don't want to do, you pour a little. Every time you put others before yourself, you pour more out. One day the glass will be empty. And when it is, tell me, who will refill it for you? You are not a servant to the opinions of others. You do not owe your time, your energy, your peace to anyone who demands it. Think of the strongest people in history. Did they rise by being agreeable? Did they become legends by making everyone comfortable? No, they stood their ground. They risked being disliked. They chose their own path, even if it meant walking alone. Now look at your own life. How many times have you smiled when you wanted to cry? How many times have you bitten your tongue to keep the peace? How many times have you done things you hated just to avoid conflict? And where has that gotten you? Picture this. A man spends his whole life saying yes to everyone. He's the first to help, the last to rest. He's always available, always reliable, always agreeable. And then one day, he needs help. He looks around, and what does he see? No one. Because the people he spent years pleasing only valued what he could do for them, not who he was. If you want respect, you must stop being afraid of disappointment. Disappoint people, let them be upset, let them call you selfish, let them walk away. Because the ones who stay, the ones who understand, those are the ones who truly matter. Think of a woman who always puts her family first. She never rests, never complains, never says no. And what happens? People get used to it, they expect it, they stop appreciating it. One day, she stands up for herself. She says, no, I won't do this today. And suddenly everyone is shocked. They call her difficult. They say she's changed. But the truth is, she hasn't changed. She just stopped allowing herself to be taken for granted. If you live for others, you will die empty. If you chase approval, you will never be free. People pleasing is a cycle. You give, they take, and when you finally have nothing left, they move on to someone else. You think you're earning love, but all you're doing is making yourself disposable. Now, imagine this. You walk into a room, and you no longer care who likes you. You speak your truth without fear, you say no without guilt, you stand firm in your decisions. And suddenly something incredible happens. The ones who only wanted you for what you could give them, they fade away. But the ones who truly respect you, they draw closer. Because the truth is, when you stop seeking approval, you start commanding respect. When you stop trying to fit in, you become unforgettable. And when you stop pleasing everyone, you finally start living for yourself. Why do you need someone to tell you that you are good enough? Why do you need applause, approval, or permission to be yourself? The moment you seek validation from others, you give them power over you. You hand over the keys to your happiness, your confidence, your worth, and you say, please tell me that I am enough. But what happens when they don't? Do you crumble? Do you shrink? Do you stop believing in yourself just because someone else doesn't? Think of a child who runs to their parents every time they draw something new. They hold up their little masterpiece, waiting for a reaction. If the parent smiles and praises them, they beam with pride. But if the parent is too busy, distracted, or simply doesn't respond, the child looks at their drawing again and starts doubting it. Is it not good enough? Am I not good enough? Now, that child grows up, but the habit remains. Instead of a drawing, it's their personality, their achievements, their looks, their choices. They keep holding up their life, waiting for someone to say, yes, you are enough. And this is how most people live. They post a picture online and keep refreshing, waiting for likes. They say something smart in a conversation and secretly look around, hoping for nods of approval. They dress up not because they like it, but because they hope someone else will. They make choices not for themselves, but for the applause. But tell me, what happens when the applause stops? Who will you be when no one is clapping? The strongest people in this world do not wait for permission to be great. They do not beg for recognition. They do not look around for validation. They walk their path whether people praise them or not. Look at the most powerful figures in history. Were they always loved? No. Many were ridiculed, doubted, even hated. But did they stop? Did they give up their vision just because the world didn't approve? No, because they did not seek validation. They carried their own. Imagine a man who spends his whole life trying to impress others. He works long hours, buys expensive clothes, drives a fancy car. But deep inside, he is exhausted. Because every time he reaches one level of success, he realizes he needs to do more to keep the approval going. He is not living for himself, he is living for the opinions of others. And then one day, someone younger, richer, or more impressive comes along, and suddenly the world stops noticing him. He feels empty. Because his self-worth was never his own. It was borrowed from the admiration of others. Now imagine a woman who has a dream. She wants to start something new, something bold. But every time she tells someone, she hears doubts. Are you sure? What if it doesn't work? Maybe you should play it safe. She starts second-guessing herself. Not because she lacks ability, but because she gave too much importance to what others think. And then one day, she realizes, those who doubted her were not living her life. They had no stake in her future. So why should their opinions hold so much weight? You must quit seeking validation. Not because you don't care about others, but because if you let their opinions dictate your life, you will never truly live. Think of a tree. It does not ask permission to grow. It does not wait for the wind to say, yes, now you may rise. It simply grows, stretching toward the sky, regardless of who is watching. There is a story of a warrior who went into battle with an army that laughed at him. They told him he would fail, that he was too weak. He could have listened, he could have doubted himself, but instead he fought. And in the end, he won. Not because the world believed in him, but because he believed in himself first. Now look at your own life. How many times have you held yourself back because you were waiting for approval? How many dreams have you delayed because someone else didn't believe in them? How much of your life has been shaped by the fear of what others might think? The truth is, the world will always have opinions. Some will praise you, some will criticize you. Some will believe in you and some will laugh at you. But none of that matters unless you let it. You must be so secure in who you are that no amount of validation or rejection can shake you. Think of a lion walking through the jungle. Does it look around to see if the other animals approve of its roar? No! It roars because that is what it was born to do. It does not need applause. It does not need permission. It simply is. You too must learn to walk through life with that kind of power. Do what sets your soul on fire, not because the world approves, but because you know it is right for you. Stop waiting for others to see your worth. See it for yourself. Stop waiting for permission to shine. Shine because you were born to. Stop chasing validation and watch as the world starts to respect you, not because you need them to, but because you don't. How much will you tolerate before you realize your worth? How many times will you let someone walk over you, belittle you, take you for granted before you stand up and say, enough? Disrespect does not always come as a slap or a scream. It comes in whispers, in small dismissals, in moments when people talk over you, ignore your words, or treat your presence as insignificant. It comes when they joke about you in a way that stings, but you laugh along just to keep the peace. It comes when they make you feel guilty for demanding basic respect, twisting the narrative so that you are the one who looks unreasonable. And yet, you stay silent. Why? Because you don't want to be seen as difficult, because you fear losing people, because you have been trained to endure. But let me tell you something, disrespect only grows where it is tolerated. Every time you let it slide, you teach people how to treat you. You show them that their words, their actions, their dismissals, none of it has consequences. And so they do it again and again. And one day you wake up and realize that the respect you once had for yourself is gone, not because they took it, but because you gave it away in little pieces every time you accepted less than you deserved. Think of the workplace. How many times have you seen someone cut you off mid-sentence? How many times has your effort been overlooked while someone else takes the credit? And what do? You tell yourself it's not a big deal, you smile, nod, and swallow your pride. But deep inside, you feel the sting. Now imagine if instead of staying silent, you spoke up. If you said, "Excuse me, I wasn't finished." If you looked them in the eye and let them know that you demand to be heard. Think of friendships. How many times have you been the one who always listens, always supports, always shows up, while they only come to you when they need something? You make excuses for them. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe I'm overreacting. But deep down, you know the truth. Respect is not about convenience. It is about consistency. And if someone only values you when they need you, then they don't truly value you at all. And what about relationships? How many times have you accepted half-hearted love, mixed signals, or outright neglect just because you were afraid to lose them? You tolerate the late replies, the broken promises, the way they prioritize everything but you. You make excuses. Maybe they just show love differently. But tell me, when did love mean settling for less than you deserve? When did love mean accepting disrespect? If someone truly loves you, you will never have to beg for their time, their attention, their effort. Respect is not just about words, it is about actions. And if their actions repeatedly show you that they do not value you, believe them. Look at nature. A lion does not allow itself to be treated like a house cat. It does not shrink itself to fit in. It does not lower its roar to make others comfortable. And yet so many of us do. We dim our light, we make ourselves small, we tolerate mistreatment just to fit into spaces that do not deserve us. But why? Why should you lower your standards for people who would never raise theirs for you? Respect starts with you. It starts with the way you allow others to treat you. It starts with the boundaries you set and the lines you refuse to let anyone cross. Do not be afraid to say, "I will not tolerate this." Do not be afraid to walk away from people who do not honor your worth. Because the truth is, those who respect you will never ask you to endure disrespect just to keep them in your life. There is a story of a warrior who was once insulted by a great king. The king mocked him in front of an entire court, expecting him to bow, to apologize, to shrink. But the warrior stood tall and said, "A lion does not answer to the barks of dogs. And with that he walked away. He did not argue, he did not fight, he simply refused to lower himself to a level beneath his dignity. And that is the kind of strength you must carry. You do not have to explain why you demand respect. You do not have to fight to be treated well. You simply need to make it clear through your actions, your energy, and your presence that disrespect is not welcome in your life. The moment you decide that you will no longer tolerate it, you will see the world shift. Those who never valued you will disappear, and those who truly respect you will rise to meet your standards. Because at the end of the day, you set the price for how people treat you. And when you know your worth, you will never offer yourself at a discount. There is no greater thief of joy, no greater destroyer of self-worth than comparison. The moment you start measuring your life against someone else's, you hand over your happiness, your confidence, your peace. You look at another person's success and suddenly your own journey feels small. You see their achievements and suddenly your progress seems insignificant. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, who made this race? Who told you that your timeline should match theirs? Who said their path should be yours? Imagine a runner in a marathon. If he keeps looking at the other runners, worrying about who is ahead and who is behind, he loses his focus, his speed, his rhythm. He wastes energy on things that do not serve him instead of running his best race. And that is exactly what happens when you compare yourself to others. You slow down, you doubt yourself, you become distracted from your own journey. And while you are busy watching them, you forget to live for yourself. Look at social media, a carefully curated world of perfection. The happy couples, the luxury vacations, the flawless faces. But do you really believe that is the full story? Do you really think people post their struggles, their failures, their moments of doubt? No. They show you the highlight reel, not the behind-the-scenes reality. And yet, you compare. You see their happiness and question your own. You see their success and feel like you are falling behind. But tell me, does a lion compare itself to a deer? Does the ocean look at the river and feel small? Then why do you, a unique, powerful being, reduce yourself to a competition that does not even exist? Think about two artists. One spends all his time admiring another's work, wishing he had the same skill, the same fame, the same talent. The other, he focuses on his own craft, his own growth, his own unique expression. Years later, who do you think stands tall? Not the one who wasted time comparing, but the one who mastered his own path. Because true greatness is not found in being like someone else. It is found in being fully, unapologetically yourself. Comparison blinds you to your blessings. You might be wishing for someone's life while they are praying for what you have. The job you complain about is someone else's dream opportunity. The body you criticize is someone else's goal. The life you take for granted is what someone else is fighting for. Do not disrespect your own journey by belittling it. Do not dishonor your own path by constantly measuring it against another's. Look at nature. Every tree, every flower, every river has its own time, its own beauty, its own purpose. The sun does not compare itself to the moon. The eagle does not envy the fish. The mountain does not wish to be the ocean. They all exist in their own greatness. So why should you be any different? Why should you waste your energy trying to be like someone else when you were born to be extraordinary in your own way? Think of a sculptor. If he spends all his time staring at someone else's sculpture, wishing his was the same, does he ever finish his own masterpiece? No. He remains stuck, unfulfilled, incomplete. But the one who focuses on his own work, he creates something that is truly his, something that cannot be compared. That is life. You are the sculptor of your own destiny. But the more you look at others, the less time you spend carving your own greatness. Success is not a race. Life is not a competition. The only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Your only goal should be to outgrow your old self, to become wiser, stronger, greater than before. Not because you are chasing someone else's life, but because you are honoring your own. Understand this. There is no one like you. There never was, there never will be. And the more you embrace that, the more unstoppable you become. The world does not need another copy. It needs you. Fully, boldly, fearlessly you. There is no prison more suffocating, than the need to be liked by everyone. The moment you start living for approval, you stop living for yourself. You shape your words to please. You mold your actions to avoid criticism. You shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. And in the process, you lose the most valuable thing you have, your authenticity. Think about a person who walks into a room, scanning every face, eager to be accepted. They change their tone to match the conversation, nod in agreement even when they disagree, laugh at jokes they don't find funny. And for what? A moment of approval, a pat on the back? But let me tell you a hard truth. No matter what you do, no matter how much you try, there will always be someone who doesn't like you. Someone who misjudges you, someone who speaks against you. And if you waste your life trying to be liked by all, you will end up respected by none. Look at the most powerful people in history. Did they waste their time trying to please everyone? Did they silence their truth just to avoid upsetting people? No. They stood firm in who they were. They walked their own path, even when it was unpopular. Because greatness is never found in conformity. It is found in those who are bold enough to be themselves, regardless of who approves. Imagine a lion in a jungle. It does not concern itself with the opinion of sheep. It does not waste its energy trying to be accepted by every creature in the forest. It walks with confidence, knowing exactly what it is. But what happens when a lion starts worrying about being liked? It stops roaring, it stops hunting, it loses its power. And that is exactly what happens to you when you live for approval. You silence your own voice. You betray your own instincts. You weaken your own strength. There will always be critics. There will always be those who misunderstand you. But their opinion of you is none of your business. Your business is your purpose. Your business is your growth. Your business is becoming the strongest, most unstoppable version of yourself. And if that means some people don't like you, so be it. Because respect is not earned through pleasing. It is earned through standing firm in who you are. Look at social media. A world where people chase likes, comments, validation from strangers they will never meet. They post for approval. They seek attention, but tell me, does that kind of approval make a person truly powerful, or does it make them desperate? A person who needs to be liked by all is a person who is easily controlled. The moment you crave approval, you give others power over you. If they like you, you feel good. If they don't, you feel worthless. But do you really want your worth to be in someone else's hands? Think of a tree standing tall in the storm. Some people will admire its strength. Others will complain about its shade. Some will try to cut it down. Others will seek shelter beneath it. But the tree, it does not care. It simply stands, strong, unshaken, rooted in its truth. And that is how you must be. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will support you. And that is perfectly fine. Because your goal is not to be liked. Your goal is to be respected. To be strong, to be a force that cannot be ignored. And that can only happen when you let go of the need to be accepted by all. You do not need everyone to like you. You only need to like yourself. You only need to honor your truth, to walk your path with power, to rise above the noise of opinions, and stand unshaken in your own greatness.